Alrighty. So we're on just like that. So I'm laughing because we had a false start just before.
What are you talking about?
So I guess let's sort of where we can probably start is the name Rush and where that came from. So for the people that don't know Coops, Cooper fights currently in one championship. You've got an upcoming fight. Has that been announced? Can I talk about it or?
Yeah. April 26th, Bangkok, Thailand, 1FC.
Yep.
I'm fighting a Japanese fighter, Kaito Oda. It's a good fight. He's a striker, so we've been waiting for a striker, so I'm ready.
Yep. And so to go back to, I guess, where the nickname Rush came from. What was the genesis of that as the fight name?
So my last name's Royal, so I was obviously wanting something that would kind of go with Royal, But it's a funny story. So I had my first amateur bout on February the 22nd, I believe it was, and I needed a fight name. And George Rush St. Pierre, had just announced his retirement either like the day before or something, or the same day in America, and I needed a fight name. So I was like, righto, Rush is exiting the game, Rush is going to enter the game.
Yeah.
And that's how I chose Rush.
Okay.
But obviously, I thought it sounded kind of cool going with Rush Royal as well and stuff like that. But it was just perfect because when I was coming into the game, he was retiring. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice sort of tie-in, right? Like there's plenty of people that would, think that that's a great name, but the timing of that is something you can't sort of predict, right?
Yeah. If you check the timing, I'm pretty sure it's like February 23rd or something he announces his retirement. So, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. Okay. And then I guess, for you, like when did the fighting come into your life?
The fighting came quite late. I mean, compared to a lot of the guys these days, they're training from really, really young. So I was not quite 18, I was about like 17 and a half, and I was scrolling on Facebook and scrolling, and I seen a guy that I recognised. Is that all good?
Yeah, just bring it closer.
So I'm scrolling on Facebook, and I seen a guy that I recognised from a few years back, and he's training, and he's looking really good. He's in a full-blown like MMA gym, and I knew the guy was from the town that I'm from. So anyway, I called my brother up and I'm like, hey, like, your mate is like training in MMA and stuff like that. And he's like, yeah, of course, like he's a fighter. And I'm like, what? He's a fighter? Where out of? And he's like, oh, out of here, like in Rockhampton. And I was like, no way. Like I couldn't believe that because my brother had showed me UFC DVDs and Pride and the old school stuff like that when I was younger. But I thought that was like out of the country, let alone in my town. Like I didn't think that was a possibility. So yeah, when I seen those videos, I got in contact with Justin straight away, and then my brother, and I was like, man, you got to take me to the gym. You take me to the gym once, you'll never need to take me again. And he took me that one time, and that was it. Like I was hooked, man. I couldn't believe that it was a possibility to do that in Rockhampton. Yeah.
So then, out of curiosity, what's the age gap between you and your brother?
6 years.
6 years. So he's 6 years older?
Yeah, 6 years older.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I guess for you guys, were you guys close growing up or?
Yeah, not close. Me and my brother, like, I always wanted his attention, but, I'm the little brother, so I was like, oh, get away from me. Like, I feel like he never really wanted my company, but I always wanted his attention. But to answer your question, nah, we weren't like close, but I always looked up to him. Yeah. Always.
That resonates for me. Like, my brother's 7 years older, right?
Yep.
And I always would say it's like, you think about it, when you're a 10-year-old, he's 16. He wants to do 16-year-old stuff.
Yeah.
And you're this 10-year-old wanting to do 16-year-old stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's a bit of that where it's like, you want to do the things that he's into, and he's like, oh, fuck, I'm a little brother, I've got to, he's not supposed to be into this sort of stuff, like, And
at the time, you don't understand. You're like, why doesn't this guy want to hang with me?
Yeah. There's no concept of age, right? Like, you just sort of go, you look at him and you go, okay, if he can do that, why can't I do that?
Yeah.
And then you don't realize that, oh, wait, he's actually, got 6 years on you. And you realize it when you get older.
Yeah, man.
But when you're growing up, that's all you wanted to do, right?
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, and like we don't have to go into anything that you don't want to go into, but I'm always curious about, So life for you, you know, growing up at home, what was that like? You know, you grew up in Rockhampton, right?
Yeah. I lived Rockhampton my whole life. Single mother, so times were definitely tough. A lot of like distractions, I guess, in Rockhampton for me and my brother, and a lot of my friends and stuff growing up. There's not a lot to do, so you easily fall into bad situations. Um, yeah, it was hard like growing up. Never had money and stuff like that, so even just going to school, like all the other kids have got like better stuff than you. So like, I don't want to be at school. I don't want to be like, I got like $2 shoes. I don't even want to be at school. So, that led to like not going to school and, essentially just falling down the wrong path, man. Yeah.
So then, I guess like it wouldn't just been you, right? Like there would have been a bunch of other kids that you probably all had that same sort of, you'd resonate with that all were going through that same circumstance, right?
Yeah.
And
sure.
I guess, that's like generally how like a lot of like, kids, I'm not talking like triad, gang mafia style gangs, but I'm just saying like kids in like groups, right?
Yeah.
How those groups kind of form is because, like you all sort of connect on this level of what you're experiencing at that particular location. And, when you got nothing better else to do, then you find ways to sort of play up a little, right?
Yeah. To get that fix, to get that like adrenaline rush that I didn't know at the time, but like that's what I was chasing, Essentially, that's what I'm doing now. Like I love the rush, like that's the fight name, but I love the rush that fighting gives me and the energy that I can put into training and stuff like that. But as a kid, man, if I wasn't doing stupid shit, I was just bored, So.
Have you got any funny stories you could share about maybe some of the stupid shit and perhaps it didn't go the right way? There's always stories like that.
One that I want to say. I just got like, we were doing like stupid shit all the time, but one time we got caught. We were like water bombing like cars and stuff like that, and we water bombed a police car, and then they ended up getting us and they chased us and they ended up finding us in a school, and then they got us for like trespass and stuff as well. So
yeah, wow,
that one wasn't fun.
So that's like a double whammy. They force you guys, like they're chasing you guys. You guys decide to go hide in the school.
Yeah.
And there's like not only you get done for like throwing. I guess they would have said it was like a projectile or something, even though it's a water bomb.
Yeah, it might have been eggs actually. I don't know, but it's funny. It's funny.
Kips is, just the memory's a bit fuzzy. Is it eggs? Is it water bombs?
Water bombs, same thing. Yeah. It's actually funny because I haven't done any of that stuff in years, man. Years. But I was. We were riding bikes, me and Coach Ray. We were riding bikes through like the city here, and they pulled us over, no helmet. Of course, me and a blind guy, and I'm like, "No, I got you, man. I got you. Just follow me. I'll make sure no one sees us without helmets." Boom, ride us straight into police. Anyway, they're like checking my record, and they've got all these things from like when I was a kid. So now it's just like the biggest joke. He's like, "Oh, juvenile delinquent," and all of this stuff. But I thought that was supposed to get wiped. When you're 18, I swear, I thought that stuff gets wiped. But anyway, it was funny as because Ray was just like, he was like finding all this stuff out. And I was like, no way.
So I guess, for people that don't know who we're talking about Ray Morecambe. And Ray's been on the podcast as well. And you wouldn't, well, apart from noticing, when you first meet Ray, you'd probably just notice that he's like a little bit cross-eyed.
Yeah.
And it's only after a while, and you get to know him a little bit, that you actually realise, this guy's actually like legally blind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Ray, he went into that story when we spoke. But I guess what I'm curious about, and so for people that don't know, Ray's actually, para karate. Like he demonstrated over at the Paris, I think before the Paris Olympic Games.
In front of 20,000 people.
20,000 people.
Oh, cool.
And was heavily involved in like para karate and karate in general, full stop. And like when he'll still spar with us, and when you're sparring with him, you wouldn't even know that there was anything wrong with the guy. Like his leg control, his leg dexterity, his kicks are all phenomenal. And it's funny, like we were talking about this in the car, how like a lot of the times when you fight, the commentators will always bring up, oh, you know, that you can see that karate style background in Coops. And Coops was saying to me, you know, it's funny, I've never done a karate class in my life. So I think there's two parts to this question. Let's first talk about how you and Ray first met, and then let's talk about, I guess, the influences to your style after that.
Okay, yep. So me and Ray first met. We have a mutual friend, Brant Cogill, karate guy up from Rockhampton, my original coach. And I believe Brant was fighting one of the CKB boys from City Kickboxing. And so Ray came up to, you know, corner him and help just kind of put the final touches on for that camp. And my first interaction with Ray was the morning of the fight. And he was like, hey, you want to do some pads? And I was like, yeah, of course. We only did pads for like a minute or two. And I'm like, da-da-da-da. And he's like, oh, man, you're on, man. You're so sharp. Like, how long have you been? Blah. And we just started, like, chopping it up. Anyway, that night I ended up fighting. Brant got the win. I got an 8-second KO. And Ray's like, oh, yeah, I told you were on. Like, it was a cool little moment. But that was the first time I met Ray. So, yeah, that would have been 2019 maybe.
Really? So it's only like, 5 years ago.
Yeah. At that time, my coach was still competing. So, I met him that time, and then I seen him recently after that, not too far after that. But, yeah, that was the first time that I met Ray, and, he held these pads for me, and that night I got an 8-second KO, so it's a cool little story.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that's what started the relationship between you and Ray?
Yeah. Well, I think regardless of if I was fighting or not that night, I think we would have just clicked.
Yeah.
I liked his energy straight away, and I liked, his willingness not just to like teach but to learn as well. I was attracted to that instantly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, so to go back and speak about, you know, your style a little bit. So people often comment on, you know, your striking's very crisp. You can throw the spinning shit, which is cool too. And so a lot of people will usually attribute that to being like, you know, from a more traditional background, whether it's taekwondo or karate or something like that. But, you know, when we were talking about in the car, you were sort of saying, no, you gravitated towards that style, right?
Yeah.
So do you want to talk a little bit about some of the influences?
Yeah, so my style, people think it's like karate or taekwondo, maybe like a kick-heavy based martial art. But I just adapted that style because I felt it was effective for my body type, for the way my body moves, for the shots that I'm able to throw, but also guys that I watched / still watch, and I wanted to emulate and I wanted to do techniques they were doing. So guys with longer stances, Israel, Sean, guys along those lines, even Darren Till, because when I was coming in to the scene, Darren was still around. Guys like that with that longer kind of base. So that's all. Really, I'm just doing what's best for my body type. You know, like if I was a bit stockier or something, maybe I would be a wrestler or something. But it wouldn't be just because, you know, my gym was full of wrestlers. I just picked up that style because I feel that style is most effective for me. Yeah,
it's funny, like I think, you know, when you go to most martial arts schools, for example, and especially like the I guess schools that are teaching single discipline sports, right, there's definitely like a style that you can sort of see between most of like the intermediate athletes, right? So it's like everybody sort of will just learn what is being taught to them, up until the point when they start to get a little bit more advanced, and then that's when their own sort of flair and personality can sort of come out into the style.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's what I'm curious about, you know, for you when you first started training. So, you know, we've already established it wasn't actually in like karate and taekwondo and all that sort of stuff. So let's talk us through, like, what was the first sort of styles that you sort of dabbled with and got to experience?
The first styles would have been like Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Muay Thai is huge. Central Queensland, North Queensland, that type of thing. Muay Thai is very heavy. All the competition up that way is Muay Thai. Boxing, stuff like that. So yeah, my first kind of arts would have been just that kind of Muay Thai style of striking. And then just jiu-jitsu, but like pure jiu-jitsu, not jiu-jitsu like for MMA or you know.
Are we talking
yourself.
gi jiu-jitsu here?
Gi? Nah, mate. I've worn a gi like I could count on these two hands how many times I've worn a gi. Just no gi. Yeah, I'm not too big of a fan of gi, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, just Muay Thai. Muay Thai pretty much would be like the first kind of dose I ever got of like a specific art would have been Muay Thai. And my brother, when he would show me all the DVDs and stuff when I was younger, he was actually training. He was actually training Muay Thai himself. That's how he got Justin into fighting, which I ended up scrolling on Facebook and then finding that video, which ultimately led to me starting martial arts. So yeah, my brother was into Muay Thai as well. So yeah, I'd say Muay Thai was the first art I got into, but I just seen it as striking.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to look at it. Like, we were talking about this just before, but it's always the rules that sort of dictate, the style in terms of what are the legal techniques, what can you throw, how can you throw.
Yeah.
So, like boxing, they don't allow back fists, so you never see back fists, and they adapt their style because they don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
And they can stand very bladed because they don't have to worry about the legs getting kicked.
Yeah.
And then with the hooks, they typically will turn the palm down so that they avoid getting called for slapping.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And then it's like, you go to American kickboxing and that kickboxing style where they don't really score the leg kicks as well, right? So then, all the kicks are above the waist kind of a thing. And then you go to Muay Thai and then you get like these different sort of styles in Muay Thai as well. There's the guys who are knee dominant or elbow dominant, like clinch fighters, right?
Yep.
And then you got the guys who are like power punchers and power kickers.
Yep.
So like, it really depends on the rule set. And then as the rules get like less and less, then the opportunity for there to be more like individualism and style sort of pops out as a result.
Yeah, definitely. I agree, yeah.
Yeah. So then, for you, because like, you're obviously, so today we're at UFC Gym in Rockdale.
Yep.
But normally, how do you sort of split your time between home and here?
So all my family is back home in Rockhampton. At the moment, we're just doing camps in Sydney.
Okay.
So this would be my third official camp now with Renato and MMA FFT. But I've been here previously. I've seen you many more times than that.
Yeah.
But the goal is to move here. So that's why my next fight, April 26th, you already know I'm getting the bonus. I'm going to use some of that money to move to Sydney so I can be here full time.
Yep.
And then I've got my girlfriend back home. So I'll bring her to Sydney as well. And yeah,
Okay.
I want to be here full time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah.
That's the goal for me.
And then, I guess, when people look at from the outside in at a guy like you, you have this belief, in yourself and in what you're capable of and what you can do. Has that always been there? Or is this something that, like, where has this sort of inspiration come from for you?
It hasn't always been there, nah. My belief when it comes to fighting, I have a lot of belief in myself. Even when I first started training, no fights, probably 6 months into training, I would have been telling my mom, still lived with her at the time, like, I would have told my mom that I'm going to be a world champion, like, I'm going to go all the way, I'm going to fight all over the world, and, I haven't even had a fight at this time. There's something about the fighting, I don't know, as soon as I started fighting, I just felt like, damn, this is what I was supposed to be doing this whole time. I truly believe, like, if I had started since a young kid, like, I would have realised, oh, okay, this is what I like to do. Didn't really have that exposure to it at a young age to realise that. But the belief just comes from, my work ethic and my skills, and I know what I'm capable of. But I haven't always been confident in other sports and stuff like that, no, not at all.
So what did your mum say when you were telling her this?
What everyone said, no one believes it.
Yeah.
No one believes it, but that's all right. It was just motivation. It was just fuel.
Yeah.
A lot of people doubted me like my whole life. But that's kind of the mentality of a lot of people these days, I feel. Nobody wants to see other people doing like well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I want to sort of just go back to like the schooling thing, right? What did your teachers say about you? Like, did they always sort of try and like
when I was at school?
Yeah.
Few and far between. What did they say about, like, what do you mean? What was the question?
So
sorry?
I guess like if you think about, before you started not turning up to school, right? Your teachers would have had an opinion of you as a student, right?
Yeah.
And then when you start not turning up, obviously I'm guessing the schooling system's supposed to be there so that they sort of get concerned about you. They want to have conversations with your mum.
Zero concern.
Zero concern.
Can confirm, zero concern.
Yeah, okay.
Even when I was at school, I was just always like in suspension, or if they'd suspended me too many times and I couldn't be suspended away from school, they started suspending me in school.
So you just go there and sit
I'm just in one room, like they wouldn't let me out for lunchtime. Yeah, man, like what was the point of that?
Okay, so you gotta give us a little bit of insight of like what sort of mischief you were getting up to. Were you fighting, or what were you doing?
I was fighting at school, but I never got in trouble for fighting at school.
Okay.
I was actually, believe it or not, I was actually pretty good at school as far as like doing bad stuff. I never did bad stuff till like after school. But in school, man, all my boys were doing everything.
Yeah.
Everything you can do, like, yeah. And I was pretty good at school, man. So they would just suspend me for like little stuff, like coming to class late, talking in class, filming fights, not me fighting myself, but filming fights, just little stuff like that, or back chatting the teacher, but yeah, just minuscule, like really, really small stuff. Nothing major, but nothing to be proud of. But me and my mate after school, we had the most suspensions in the whole of Queensland. Like, that's a fact.
Wow.
We had the most suspensions in the whole of Queensland, and we weren't friends in school until after school.
Yeah.
We started becoming friends. But yeah, I made a switch with my life. I'm here now, and he's in the same spot, doing the same things we were doing at school, just not evolving. So
yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess, and part of the reason why I want to talk about it is because, like, you have a choice in terms of who you surround yourself in, your environment, right? And, for you, obviously you would have gone through, I wouldn't say a difficult time, but it would have been a rough time, when you've left the school scene, and then it's like, okay, if you have an unstructured life, right? Like, it's very easy to fall into all the traps and temptations of what's around, right?
Yes.
So, whether it's drugs, whether, I don't know if you ever got into alcohol or anything like that, but like it would have been those sort of temptations is what I'm sort of talking about. So then, when you then, is it when you found martial arts, then that was the catalyst to you that then bringing yourself out of those circumstances, or?
100%.
Yeah.
Like 1000%. I was just doing the same thing, like on repeat, for like, maybe up to like 5 years. I dropped out of school, no job, nothing.
How are you surviving? Just living off mum?
Doing bad things, man.
Okay.
Not behaving.
Yeah.
So just,
finding other ways to make money.
Yeah. Just in the same circle, man, that a lot of people do from 15 through to 50, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a circle that leads nowhere. And I just had this like realization that I need to do something. And yeah, like, I'm so thankful that I came across that little clip on Facebook, and I was like, okay, this is in Rockhampton. This is really a possibility here. That's all I needed was to know that there was a gym in town and that it was possible. Like, I didn't care what my physical abilities was, like, I was gonna make that happen, Yeah. It was just my mindset and my belief when it comes to combat.
So then, was it a gradual thing, or was it like a light switch for you?
Nah, it was, I rang my brother up straight away when I seen that video, and I said, take me to the gym. He wasn't at home at the moment. At that time, he was like in Western Australia or something. So when he came around, like the start of January, as soon as the gym's opening, he took me to the gym, and that was all she wrote.
Wow.
I knew in my mind. I knew, you just take me that one time. That's it. That's all she wrote. Like, I'll be there every single day till the wheels fall off.
And like, I guess, for people that don't know, so you eat predominantly like a vegetarian style diet, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
Um,
eat eggs and I eat honey as well.
Yep. Have you always been that way, or was that because of the
Yeah.
fighting?
Nah, since a kid. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've been
okay.
like that. But, so I've never eaten meat since a child.
Yep.
But doesn't mean I ate healthy when I was growing up. You know, I ate like
Pasta.
the generic
Macaroni and cheese.
Australian child diet.
What'd you eat? Go on. Lay it on us.
Man, like, I never ate a vegetable or a fruit till I was maybe 20 years old.
What?
Yeah.
So what were you eating? Just like
Shit food, man. Like
Doritos?
bread, chips, chocolate, those kind of things. Yeah. Maybe a fruit before 20, but I didn't eat a vegetable till after 20 years old.
Okay.
I'm 25, almost 25 now.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so, was that when you've gotten into training, it's like, shit, I need better energy than what I'm eating?
Yeah, 100%. So, like, when I signed up at the gym, I think I was like 52 kilos, 53 kilos.
Wow.
Yeah, like small, man. Straight off the couch. So, yeah, like, I was small, and then malnutrition. Like, I didn't know what to eat or anything like that. So, yeah, through, like, training and stuff, I was like, wow, like, I need to fix this shit ASAP. Yeah, started to eat, like, cleaner and stuff, yeah.
And did you have anyone along the way that sort of helped you and guided you with that sort of stuff?
With eating cleaner?
Yeah. Or even just like,
I think it was a switch. People had told me my whole life. People had told me. But it was a switch like I had to make, or,
yeah,
like people can tell you to do something so much, but
you got to
you're
learn
only
that lesson for yourself.
you're only going to do it when you want to do it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it was just a switch that I made. Again, like when I signed up to the gym, I started training. I've got 0 fights, and I'm telling my mom that I'm going to be a world champion and shit. I got like a year in, and I was like, yeah, righto. Do I really want to be a world champion? Okay, what else do I got to do? So yeah, I started eating clean, and just improving in other areas, improving everywhere. Just showing up to the gym wasn't enough. I had to fuel my body correctly.
Yeah. And so then, when you sort of reflect back on the amateur side of your career, right? So I think you went 8-2 or something, was it?
Yeah.
8-2. I guess do you have any? What are your fondest fights in terms of memories, and I guess what were the biggest learnings from some of those fights as well?
So like my favorite fights
Yeah.
from the amateurs, probably I always liked the flyweight fights because like my whole amateur career I fought at bantamweight, couldn't get any flyweight fights, so I liked fighting at flyweight because when I was getting into the sport, like Demetrius Johnson was the man, and I knew that was my weight class. I knew like I wasn't going to be a bantamweight, so all my goals were, all right, I'm getting towards this, I'm getting towards that. He was still in the UFC at the time too, so my goals were like, right, I'm getting, I want to get to Demetrius, I want to get to the title shot, So any of my flyweight fights, of course, they in my mind was like, right, that's a step closer. But I had some good fights at bantamweight as well. I even fought at featherweight, like 65 kilos. Just trying to be active, man. Couldn't find anything. So favorite fight would probably be, I just got back from the IMAF World Championships, and I think it was like 12 days after the IMAFs. I'd already booked a fight before I went to IMAF.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't care, even if my legs snapped, I'm still fighting. And I fought Scotty Nicholson on Coastal Combat at bantamweight. That's probably my favorite amateur fight, I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was my favorite fight, yeah.
And then when you had the setbacks, a couple of losses, like what was your mentality when you came out of that? Like obviously, losses it's a very personal thing for each fighter in terms of how they take it.
Yeah.
But I guess for you, when you came across a little bit of adversity in that regard, right? Like, how did that impact you mentally?
Yeah. So when I lost at the IMAF. That sucked because there was no. I've lost at 65 kilos as well, but I was like, 65 kilos, that doesn't even count.
Division.
Sugar Sean. I was like, that doesn't even count, that shit. But when I lost at the IMAF, I was like, damn, like, this guy beat me. Like, there's no excuses here. That was a big learning curve. I struggled with the rule set, the IMAF rule set.
Okay.
No knees to the head.
Yep.
Stuff like that. I think that's a strange rule set. I know you've got to dull it down because of course, like,
you're fighting multiple times in multiple
and
days,
we're trying
right?
to get it into the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
Like, obviously, you want to get it into the Olympics. You can't have your grandma watching lawn bowls or something, and then she switches over to the Olympics, and it's like two guys, they're all bloodied up, cuts everywhere from elbows. So I understand that, but I struggled with the rule set. And then, of course, like, being amateur, you know, there's no threat when they're shooting in, taking you down. I like that transition now that I'm pro. I feel like my amateur style would have been much more suited to being pro, having the elbows available. Again, as you were talking about, like, not modified, but certain arts before, and they force you to fight in certain ways, and there's certain strikes not available. But yeah, regardless of, like, rule set and all that, that IMAF loss wasn't easy. It sucked, you know, because I truly believed I could have won the IMAF gold medal. So I think I lost in the second round. So I'd only just got there, and then I'm gone. So yeah, he beat me by decision. Yeah, I started too late. You watch that third round, I'm putting it on him, but who cares? He already won the first and the second.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good learning curve.
So even that little distinction on its own makes a big difference, right? Because in one, the fight's scored in its entirety.
Yeah.
Versus the UFC where it's scored round by round. So, like, forget about promotions, but just talking about, like, the different commissions in different states and things like that. Like, typically fights are scored round by round.
Yes.
Right. So, you know, there is an advantage to somebody who has two good rounds in them.
Yep.
You know, and they can start well, and they can force the other guy to try and chase a finish in the third and maybe pick them apart. And so it's kind of interesting when you see that. And I guess, like, even like your fight with Ordakov, right? You had us all, like, on the edge of our seats, right? Yeah. Like, because so for people that don't know, so that was your second one championship fight, was it?
Yep.
Yep. And so Coops came up against I think it was Cameron Ordakov, Kazakhstan or something like that. Uzbekistan, that's it. And Percy had lost a decision to him in his shot at one Lumpinea Stadium as well. And so we sort of already knew, like, the kind of guy that we were coming up against, right? That he was going to try and hold you down and things like that. And it was like, when we watched the first and second round, like, yeah, you could see, like, he didn't want to strike with you at all. He just wanted to try and grab a hold of you. Yeah. And so we're all thinking, like, you know, when I'm there watching it, I'm thinking, fuck, you know, like, need something to happen. And then there's a really funny video. I don't know if they actually put it out, but it's Ray, like, fucking going off in the corner.
Yeah. So I can hear it the whole time. I'm trying to focus on the fight, and all I can hear is Ray going off, him and Herb beefing. Wow.
Let's can we set the scene on this one? Because I think this is a really cool story if we can share it. Yeah. So I think so Coops, you talk us through, but I think, you know, this guy was sending you videos or something, like, talking some shit to you.
Yeah. So like, fight week comes around, and all his boys are messaging me like, my brother going to smash you. He's going to smash you. So I'm sending them voice messages back, you know, in the accent, like, brother, he's not going to smash shit. So, you know, we're going back and forth. Anytime I've seen Ordakov in the lobby, you know, he's like, they're staring me and all, like, you know, mean mugging. And then, you know, getting sent, like, more stories, and then righto, so I'm like, righto, I got time today. So I'm responding, but also I'm watching their stories, and they're literally watching Khabib versus McGregor, and they're like, when, you know, Khabib's smashing him, they're like, they put their camera on Cameron, and he's like, you know, he's gonna do the same thing, so they just kept calling me, like, McGregor, and he's Khabib. They thought it was gonna go down like that. Even at the weigh-ins, you know, he's trying to put his hands on me and stuff like that, and I was, it's funny, me and Percy were just talking about it the other day. With Percy, he was so respectful. He was like, thank you. no mean, like, no animosity at all.
Yeah.
So it's quite funny when the energy completely changed to us. But yeah, long story short, my brother going to smash you. Trust me, my brother going to smash you on Friday. And I'm like, brother, he's not going to smash shit. And then we're sending like back and forth. And then, yeah, it's just like the way the fight planned out. The whole time Ray would not shut up. He's so passionate, yeah?
Yeah.
He wouldn't shut up. He's like, ref, tell him to work. Ref, he's not doing anything. He's hugging. Come on, do something.
I was actually I always because I know like what Ray's eyes are like.
Yeah,
With the bright lights, it's like I'm kind of surprised he could see anything.
Yeah. No, well, so it's actually good having the venue so dark.
Yeah.
And then the ring is just lit up.
Yeah.
So I think that's actually good for his eyes. Like,
Okay.
he can just, there's nothing else that his eyes have to try and focus on.
Yeah.
He's just got the ring right in front of him. So as far as I know, I think his eyes, he can see everything at Lumpini, which is perfect.
That's actually better for him then.
Yeah. I think so, because at other shows when the light's a bit more even throughout the venue, his eyes are trying to focus on other things, and so I think Lumpini actually works out really good for him.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It is.
Yeah, and so to go back to the story, so Herb Dean's reffing.
Yeah.
And then you got Ray basically mouthing off every expletive under the sun.
Yeah.
And basically just saying, Herb, he's not fucking doing anything.
Yeah. So I was actually thinking, they're gonna like take a point off me or something for my corner. So I'm like sitting there and I'm trying to focus on the fight, but I just can't. Like, he just would not stop. So I'm just thinking about what he's saying the whole time. And then Herb's saying, "Coach your fighter, not me." And then he's like, "Yeah, but ref, you're not even reffing. You're not doing anything." And then he's like, "Coach your fighter, coach your fighter." Then the round goes or something, and he said to Renato, he said, "Tell your coach not to coach me. He's got to coach the fighter." So then next round, Ray transitioned all that energy from Herb to Audicol. So like, Audicol's this far away from Ray, and Ray's like, "Kid, what are you gonna do? You gonna fight, or are you gonna hug all night? What are you doing? And it's fucking hilarious because Audicol's right here, and he just looks at Ray, and he doesn't know a word of English. So this guy's just like, and Audicol's just like, "I don't know what you're saying." Like, it's funny as fuck. But
and you can even and Renato's even like, Ray, relax. He doesn't speak any English.
Yeah,
he doesn't understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I've got the cage side video, so it's hilarious when you listen back to it. But even after the fight, he spoke to Ray and Renato and said like, "Hey, like, that coach, you gotta put him in line, like, so something we gotta work on for next time." But it's just passion, it's just passion. He's so passionate, and I mean, he was. They're scoring off damage, as you just said before. They're scoring off damage, so he's trying to push the fight. I'm there to fight. I don't want to, like, just hold each other. You do have to advance position. Or if your goal is to take me down, you got to know that if you're going to take me down and then just stay there, you're going to get stand up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was, I think that was one of the interesting things, not interesting, one of the things that really occurred to me. It's like, at the end of that fight, I could see that you always had this belief that you're going to find a way to get it done.
Yeah.
And that's, like even Renato and I, we've spoken about this, like that's what makes you special in that sense.
Yeah.
And I don't say that to fucking put smoke up your ass, but it's like to be hugged for a couple of rounds and finding it difficult to get up because, it's in the ring, it's not in the cage. You don't have the normal get-ups that you get, that you normally would drill.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that I would say about fighting MMA in a ring is that it actually means that you need to have some decent, like, you have to have good jiu-jitsu because you don't have the ability to wall wrestle and use the wall to sort of work your way back up. So the wall is a positive or a negative depending on, who you're fighting and what their skill set is. Like if somebody's good against the wall, it's probably a negative to have the wall there.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But if somebody is good at basically, top control, top position, that wrestling style, well, and if you don't have the same sort of wrestling background to compete, head to head on the wrestling, then you need something else.
Yeah.
And so, when you tied up that sub, it was just like, fuck, that was perfect. Like the timing was perfect. You sort of like, he shot in and then you took the opportunity to land a couple of elbows, and then, you know, whilst his he was extended, you know, you swung your leg over and caught up was a back triangle or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it was just a reverse triangle.
Reverse triangle. Yeah.
The triangle was on. That's originally what I was going for, and then the arm presented itself. But I was playing high guard the whole first round. Like I was just giving him looks, and I was just, you know, reminding him that, okay, if you want to posture up here and strike, you know, I'm going to take an arm.
Yeah.
But I'd kind of left it. I just kind of left it in the bag until later in the fight, which could have been not the best move. But while we were both fresh, and I can feel him, I can hear him, you know, I can hear him breathing. He's using a lot of energy. So I stayed super composed, patient. That was the game plan, though. Like, you know, to a lot of people, it might have been like, oh, wow, like this crazy come from behind win. But what me, coach, Renato and Ray had said leading up to the fight was literally something along the lines of that. Like that patience and that discipline is what would win the fight. So when I was in the corner coming out of the second into the third round, if anything presented itself that round, I had to go to it. I wasn't to think, oh, should I go for it? Like, it was, no, you have to go for it. And so that's what I did when he shot in on that sloppy one. Again, the takedowns are getting sloppier and sloppier and sloppier. When he shot in on that sloppy one, I was like, righto. And those elbows were nasty, so
Yeah.
if he didn't get subbed, I was going to finish him with those elbows because they were nasty. So yeah, it was just patience, man. Patience and discipline won me that fight.
Well, it's you know, people often say that, you know, in the grappling arts, like the submission is like the knockout punch for the strikers, right? Yes. And to me, like that was like almost like the perfect, you know, example of that, right? That submission coming on at that timing. It's like, you know, you've been patient the whole time. Yeah, you definitely gave him looks, you know.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where it's like, you know, when you time it that really good cross and you just catch somebody clean, you know when that shot's landed really well. Yeah. And it was the same thing, you know, you hit that submission and it was just like, okay, that's on.
Yeah.
You know, I think like that was I would say that to me is a really special moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otakov, brother, why you quit like McGregor? why you do this, brother? Come on, you from mountain, you tap. Come on. McGregor, bro.
I gotta.
Habib, you bitch.
I got to bring up the drip. We're not starting any beef here, but anyway, maybe if it needs more fights.
We love Uzbekistan.
Yeah. So, but the outfits, you know, the style, the swagger that you bring, you know, when it comes to organising your fight kits and things like that, like that is obviously something that is very, very you in how you design it, right? Yeah. So I guess when was the first time that you did that? Was that the Barbie one that was the first one, or
Barbie was the first? Yeah. Again though, just not having access to it earlier, or not knowing where to go or how to get onto suppliers and designers and stuff like that. Otherwise, I would have been doing it for ages. My first coach, talking back in 2019, I was asking him for pink shorts. Right off the get, I was like, my first fight, can I have pink shorts? But I didn't know how to get it myself, obviously. So yeah, with the themes, it's all like timing and what I'm feeling at the time. With Barbie, the Barbie movie had just came out, so it was pretty hot at the time. Also, like, I was able to use the walkout song, and it's funny, right? All fighters, you know, getting hyped up. Before the fight, let's go, and they chuck their beats on, you know, probably the regular shit they listen to, like some gangster shit, and then I just come out to Barbie Girl and fucking light him up. So that was pretty cool, that one. And then I did Ninja Turtles. I always fucking love Ninja Turtles. I got the shorts on right now, if you can see. These are my pajamas I go to sleep with, of course. Raphael actually gave me these. And so that was my next theme. Again, I think the movie had just come out, and then Crocodile Dundee, Australia Day was about to come up, so I was just like, yeah, this would be sick. We'll chuck some teeth all over the shorts, and then you know, like, I'll wear the chain with like the teeth on it and shit like that. So Yeah, no, I like the outfits and all of that kind of stuff. To be able to express myself is cool. I like color in my hair, all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
Yeah.
And like, has that always been something that you've enjoyed doing?
I've always liked colors.
Yeah.
Um, it's not always something I've been doing. Nah, not really.
Yeah.
Nah, not until the fighting came along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, do you think, like, through fighting, you get to express like this other personality, or not say an other personality, but like there's this thing inside you that you get to express through
Yeah,
that?
and again, I just didn't know it was there until fighting came along. But yeah, it's my favorite thing to do. All aspects to it, not just the fighting, everything, the media, the dressing up, the behind the scenes, all of it, and then like the fight is the the best part, of course.
The cherry on top.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So then, I guess, like when you sort of think about, do you think much about the future in terms of like the sport and things like that, and where you want to go, or do you think more of it in terms of I'm just looking at this one fight at a time? Like how what's your perspective on it all? Like,
Of course, I look and I think about the future. Put a lot of thought into the future. But yeah, right now where I'm at, I just want activity. Up until August last year, I couldn't get a fight for 10 months. So I was on the sideline for about 10 months, over 10 months. Couldn't get a fight. Had the XFC fight, boom, 2-0. Got the call up 12 days later to fight on Eternal.
Yep.
It was 12 days later, but they gave me the call on 3 days' notice. But I don't care about that stuff. Like, I'll fight on 3 minutes' notice. So, boom, in the space of like 2 weeks, I went from 1-0 to 3-0. And then that's when the call from 1FC came. Took the debut on 1, and then January 5-0. So within like 4 months, I went from 1-0 to 5-0. I just want activity. I want a lot of activity this year. I'd like 3 more fights this year, at least. Injury free, and yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I just want activity, man. That's all that's on my mind.
And have you got sponsors or anything that help you along the way? Is there anyone you need to shout out or thank on the way?
Yeah. I won't shout anyone out because I might forget and butcher it. So just shout out to all my sponsors. I won't do it individually because I don't want to forget anyone. But yeah, no, they help me out a lot. Especially it's not cheap to live here in Sydney. Like so yeah, they help me out a heap. And I'm able to train and recover and all the aspects that go into a fighter's lifestyle. So, yeah, shout out to all my sponsors. Thank you so much.
And then, like another area I wanted to sort of talk with you about was like when it comes to mindset and things like that. So, we've obviously talked about how like fighting helped you to find this, allow you to express yourself and find, a bit of like something that you love to do and are passionate about. But like when it came to mindset and things like that, like has there been any influences? Do you listen to podcasts? Do you read? Like what sort of things have sort of helped you with that along the way?
Yeah, I listen to podcasts, of course, stuff like that. Just like the people I'm surrounded by, like Ray, he's a coach and a mentor. I've learned a lot off Ray. Guys like Ronaldo, man, like his mindset just is motivating. He's like the same as me in the version of a coach. You know what I mean? Like
he's relentless.
He's mad for the game. Just exactly relentless. Just the people like I'm surrounded by. I don't have any friends. Like I don't do stuff like outside of fighting. I have no interest in any of that stuff. So the very few people I do surround myself with are all like-minded or like strong-minded mentalities, Yeah.
How does that work with like your relationship, like your personal relationships with like girlfriend and things like that? Is she supportive? Does she get upset about it?
She's very supportive. At the start, she was a little bit like okay, he's been at the gym for the last 500 days. When are we gonna do something? But she understands that it's just part of the game, and we do spend time together and stuff like that. So it's not like it's all fighting, but she, I told her when we got together that she comes second to the dream, you know, because essentially the dream is for my future. So if you want to be in my future, then you understand that I have to put the hours and hours and hours into working towards my future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess, you know, from that perspective, like, do you ever feel like, you know, you got to have to pinch yourself and think that there's a bit of like, you know, do you get impacted by imposter syndrome at all, thinking that, fuck, you know, I'm just a kid from Rockhampton and look at what I'm doing at the moment?
Yeah. It probably wasn't until Ray, or you know, other people close to me, kind of bring that up that I actually even thought of that stuff. But yeah, I'm not supposed to be here, man. Like all my friends from like growing up and all that kind of stuff, they're all doing the same things they were doing, like stuck in the mud. So yeah, when I do sit back and actually think about like where I'm at now, it's yeah, it's cool. It's just motivating to keep going further and further and further.
And do you like do any like journaling or reflecting?
Yeah, journal, of course, every day.
Every day.
Yeah.
So, and like, I guess, you know, when did that habit start? And, you know, was there a reason why you started that habit? Or was it just something that you heard and then you thought you're going to give it a try? Or
To be honest, it was probably something I heard. Maybe someone that I look up to in a sense, or like the way they think, they journaled. So I was like, all right, I'm going to start this. I'd imagine it would have been something like that because I'm not the best reader. You know, I don't have great English, etc., etc. So reading and writing is not it's not one of my
strong points?
yeah, it's not one of my strong points. So yeah, it definitely would have been a video or probably a podcast. Maybe Andrew Huberman.
Yep.
Yeah, it would have been something along those lines. And yeah, I would have started journaling from that.
Yep. And do you have like a structure in terms of how you journal? So is it like, does it start with like, you know, a gratitude, appreciation type thing?
I've done that in the past. You know, 3 things you're grateful for. Maybe like little goals for the day, stuff like that. But for the most part, I'm just writing in there my thoughts, maybe what happened that day. Now that I'm in camp, journaling camp. So a lot of it is just filled with fighting stuff or training related. But yeah, I'm not like set on, oh fuck, like yesterday I didn't put in my 3 things I'm grateful for, you know? Yeah.
And so then when you're in camp, like, is it like you're note taking on ideas, techniques, that sort of stuff as well?
Yeah. So what we did in the session, what I thought of the session, what techniques I liked, what techniques I struggled with, and okay, like, you know, I should put some real time into those techniques, stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. And then, like, I guess, you know, for you, when you think about, like when you were telling your mum and you said, you know, these are your goals, you're going to be a world champion and things like that. Have you ever thought about what, and then what, like, comes after that?
What comes after being a world champion? Yeah, of course I've put thought into that. It's something I struggled with early on in my career, actually. Before anything, like, I'm probably a couple wins into my amateur career and I was already thinking, because in my mind, I'm going all the way.
Yeah.
Like, in my mind, from the jump, I'm like, I'm going all the way. It's not if, maybe. So, yeah, early on in my career, real early, I was, like, thinking already, what am I going to do after? What am I going to do? Because you see it all the time with athletes in any sport, really. Any sport where they, you know, reach the pinnacle. You see that massive dip after because their whole life has been towards this one goal. I mean, one way to look at it, I guess, for me is it hasn't been my whole life towards this one goal. You know, really, it's a bit of a late start for me. You know, I was 18 years old, so I'm about 6 years into it. But still, by the time I get to my goal, it's going to be a big chunk of my life, a massive chunk of my life that was taken out. So I do have things I want to do after. I'm not sold on like what I want to do. It's not like I'm pretty open-minded, man. I'm not closed-minded to like, okay, this is exactly what I'm going to do after it.
Yeah.
Because anything could happen, and maybe I'm not able to do that. Maybe that comes off the list, and it's not one of my goals anymore. But I mean, my girlfriend always talks about it. She's like, "Nah, you're gonna be like involved in the fight game or something, like as a promoter or something like this." She always like says, "Oh, look, what about like what Dana White's doing?" And I was like, "Shit, I don't know about that. Like, I don't see myself being like a president or something like that of like a major organization, but I love the fight game. So, you know, matchmaking or something like that, or coaching, of course, coaching. Yeah, anything to do with fighting, I believe."
Yeah. And then what about like, do you have any like, so unrelated to fighting, but like personal goals in terms of like, you know, things that you want to maybe, you know, whether it's like buying a house and all those sorts of things. Like, do you have goals for those sorts of things, or are you just sort of like very easygoing in terms of what you want to achieve on that front, as long as it's the main goal of fighting?
Yeah, I mean, I have goals for all of that stuff. A big goal would be to like buy my mum a house.
Yeah.
That's before anything, before any of my own goals of like, oh, I want to do this, I want to buy that. Be like buying my mum a house. Yeah, that's the top of the list for me. Yeah.
Do you, out of curiosity, and again, you don't have to speak about this if you don't want to, but do you find that you have a pretty special bond with your mum because, you know,
Yeah, for sure.
she was there, she's the
course.
mum and your dad, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, growing up.
Yeah, it was just me and mum. My brother as well.
Yep.
It was just like us three. Never had no male figure, no father figure in my life. So yeah, of course, like my mum's everything to me. Everything. Yeah.
And I guess like, so to try and like make ends meet for you guys, like what did she do for work when you were growing up? Do you remember all the stuff that she did?
Man, she'd had 3 jobs, cleaning, all along those lines of like jobs that you don't really want to do. Mum was doing it. Mum was hustling because she had to. She was just, yeah, man. She worked multiple jobs to feed me and my brother. Yeah.
And so then, I guess, you know, when you're now like achieving these little milestones along the way on your journey, right? Like, what does she sort of say to you? Like, you know, from being the kid that was telling her that you're going to be a world champion before you've even had your first fight to now, like, you're on your way to achieving some of those goals. Like, that must be a big relief, I guess, for her. Or, like, obviously she'd be very proud, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, she's super proud of me. Like, my mum actually wasn't a fan of like fighting. I don't think many mums are a fan of like cage fighting, especially. But nah, my mum wasn't a fan. I believe she actually thought it was quite like silly, like stupid. But nah, me fighting and her seeing the changes that it makes outside of the actual fight itself, and you know where I was going to where I am now, I think that gave her this complete switch of her mindset towards fighting. And yeah, now she's a massive fan. Like a massive fan is probably an understatement. So like when I fought on XFC, Mum came to that fight because it was in Queensland. She was able to come watch. So I fought, say, maybe like 10:30. As soon as we got backstage, like 10:35, she's like, "Oh, look, quick." She's got the UFC fights on because it was a London card or something. It was like a real early card. She's like watching all the fights like constantly. So yeah, she just watched my fight, but she was like, "Oh, can't miss the UFC card." She's hardcore fan, man. Like she loves it. She made a complete switch through seeing her son do it, and yeah, I think most of that would come from the changes it made in my life.
Was she, when you were like, I guess, in those negative situations before, how did she try and deal with that with you? Like, did she ever try and pull you aside, or like, I guess, you know, I'm just thinking about this as a parent, right? Like, how did she sort of handle herself, and I guess, how did you respond?
Of course she did, but it's hard, like single mom, and you know, as soon as I got that little bit older, like she can't tell me what to do. So yeah, it was hard. It would have been hard, like, but yeah, she definitely told me not to do bad stuff. But yeah, you can't control a young man, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
We've got a big problem in Rockhampton with the youth. We have a massive problem, and I believe a lot of that is there's just nothing to do. There is, but it's only like sports-wise, it's only rugby league or cricket maybe. That's really all you can do. Like, we don't have enough options, and we're not a small town either. Like, we're a lot bigger than people think, and there's just not a lot to do there. Like, we have a massive problem with drugs and crime. Yeah.
And that's, it's one of the things that might run counterintuitive to people is that actually doing combat sports can actually allow people to get a lot of that excess energy out of their system. Because usually it's a lot of times it's driven by males who have excess energy and they're looking to try and put that towards something.
That's the exact case for me, man. Yeah. I wish I had have known that when I was younger. Just to be able to physically exert yourself like that, so many kids would benefit from that. Yeah.
So then, in terms of gyms up in Rocky, are there many gyms or?
Yeah, there's a few here and there. My guy Brandon, who's my MMA and jiu-jitsu coach when I'm in Rockhampton, he just opened up a new gym, Valor Performance Center. So it's like the first. I wouldn't say the first, but it's going to be the best gym that's ever been in Rockhampton that does it all. The martial arts, the fitness, the weights, everything, all in the one. So I think this is going to be huge for Rockhampton, having this facility here now. Yeah.
And so then, when you're back in Rocky, do you try and do stuff at the gym and help out, with coaching and things like that as well, or? Yeah.
Brandon likes to do his own thing. Like, he's the head honcho. Yeah. He teaches everything. But I help out here and there, and we haven't done anything with the schools yet. I've done little bits here and there, but they're so hesitant.
They haven't asked you to come back and chat to them?
Nah. It's actually funny. I was a bit nervous when I went there last time, and we did a little show. Like, we did some pads, and we talked to a lot of the kids. Nothing major, but I was a little bit nervous because I was like, oh, they're gonna remember me, and they all remembered me. But they were so happy and positive now, to see what I'm doing now. So I was like, oh, that's cool. And we tried to get some basic kind of boxing passed into the PE classes. Yeah. And they just weren't about it, eh?
Really?
Yeah. So here in Sydney, in Hornsby and Penn Hills, Ray does that for the kids. So it's passed here. Yep. But in Rockhampton, they're not about it, eh?
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I'd love to get it passed. I could start it off. Yep. And then, I'm not going to be around there forever. But maybe they could continue it going and have it as an option rather than handball or something. I don't know. That's what we were doing when we were in school.
Yeah. And I think, it's one of those things that, combat sports can be a pathway for people, why do a lot of smaller guys like combat sports? Because we're too small to play footy or basketball or any of the really athletic sports. When I say really athletic, I'm talking about, where your height, size, weight can make a really big impact, right? Whereas, combat sports is one of those ones where, if it's boxing, there's so many weight divisions, you can find where you fit. Kickboxing's the same thing. MMA, there's enough weight classes for you to find where you fit. Or you shoehorn yourself into a spot because, you need to cut weight or whatever. It's a good opportunity, especially for those smaller kids, to get into something that could actually, potentially be something. Even if it doesn't lead to a career in fighting, it could lead to a business, coaching. It could lead to, helping people achieve, health and fitness goals. There's so many different ways that combat sports or fitness can actually help people in different aspects of their life, right? Yeah. And even you're that little bit of a testament to that in terms of your own mental state, right? You've gone from this place where you're surrounded by negativity, and then it's okay, I need to get myself out of these environments because if I want to achieve these goals, this is where I need to be, or if I'm passionate about this is where I need to be. Yeah. So I think that's always really interesting, and it's cool that Ray does a lot of that sort of stuff in the Hornsby and Pennant Hills area with those schools there, and I think he also went out west into the country and was doing it there too.
Yeah, right? So I think when he went out west, I think that would be a bit more similar to my area back home. Kids are rough and ready, and I think that's where you'll really find the kids who do want to do boxing, do want to do wrestling, and things along that kind of, like, yeah, I don't know about for you, but PE and stuff, like when we were at school, it was just like handball and stuff like that. So that would be a great start to just do the PE class is like, I don't know, 30, how long is a school class? I don't even know, man.
40 minutes an hour, depending
like
on the school.
40 minutes of just like hitting pads or something.
Yeah.
And then you switch. Like, you're not going to hit each other.
Yeah.
You're not going to do anything where someone's going to get hurt. But that would be a great start. Would just be, all right, let's do 40 minutes of just boxing today. The amount of kids that would just love that, man, would be crazy.
And like Rocky's like what, halfway between the sunny coast and Cairns or Townsville or something?
Yeah,
it's like halfway up, right?
It's like yeah, central Queensland. It's like the same distance between Rockhampton and Townsville than Rockhampton and Brisbane.
Yeah,
it's like that same kind of distance between, right in the middle.
What are the major industries up there? Like what are most
beef?
Okay,
beef, yeah,
so
beef capital of Australia.
Yeah, okay,
yeah.
Ironic for you.
Yeah, I
you don't
know.
Is there a reason why you don't do meat?
I just don't like the animal side of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to hurt the animals, eat the animals, etc., etc. But yeah, we have cows and bulls literally everywhere, and there's statues of bulls and cows everywhere. It's so funny. Like, as soon as you enter Rockhampton, it's like, welcome to Rockhampton, big ass bull.
Yeah.
And then all through the town, there's just like either cattle trucks, cattle farms, or statues of cattle. Yeah.
Any bull riding radio going on?
Heaps of cowboys and stuff like that. I'm the complete opposite of a cowboy. But yeah, no, we have like heaps of cowboys and a little beef going on in Rockhampton. That's for sure.
All right. I want to ask you about the tats. So,
yeah,
what have you got, and what was the inspiration for a lot of them?
So my left arm is like Egyptian. I just like I like ancient civilizations, like the way they think and the way they do things. I don't know, I've just always had this obsession, and my mum would like agree. I've had an obsession with ancient times or ancient warfare. Before guns came in and before anything was at a distance, I've always just liked close combat. Before I even knew what close combat was, like the Japanese sleeve. Obviously, it's not just samurais, but again, like ancient kind of times. Those times, I love those times. But yeah, of course, like I've got the samurai, great warriors, and then that's kind of like a little bit of a martial arts. Sorry, that's like a little bit of a martial arts kind of touch there on it there. I really like the ancient civilizations. Yeah, I've said that 100 times now, but I haven't gotten a tattoo in probably like maybe 2 years. I was just, when I turned 18, I was just getting covered, and then I just really slowed down when I hit like 20, and I've probably only gotten like 4 or 5 little ones in like the last 3-4 years. Yeah.
So when it comes to ancient civilization, well, even if we just think about historical warriors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So who do you think's got this? Samurais or Spartans?
One-on-one or numbers?
That's a good question. Let's talk both scenarios.
So, okay, 300 versus 300?
Yeah, let's go 300 versus 300.
I'd probably go the Spartans. Because weren't the Spartans brought and raised specifically like for that?
Yeah, like I think as a group, they probably would be much better at as like an army style
like
warfare.
If it was 5v5, I would go the Spartans.
Yeah, okay.
I'd probably go the Spartans.
One-on-one, you'd say samurai?
Okay, hold up. Let me change this. If we're talking numbers, 300 versus 300, I'd go the Spartans.
Yeah.
But I think the more we bring it down, I'd have to go, like, they've got all the armor and everything, bro.
That's right. But it's a sword versus a spear,
they got the range.
They got the range. They got the shield, It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. Who would you go?
I would have to say one-on-one, I'd definitely probably lean towards the samurai.
Yeah.
And if you think about like the sort of shit in the Book of Five Rings, like if it was a one-on-one duel, you'd have like Miyamoto Musashi who fucking just turns up late to this duel and the Spartan's fucking shitting himself.
Yeah,
Like, there's all these dirty tricks that not dirty tricks, but like just, these mental warfares.
Yeah.
That would be, that the samurai would probably employ in that situation, right?
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like, as in terms of an army, you'd probably have to lean towards the Spartans. Like they used to have like, that whole linking of the shields and the phalanx style where they'd advance on people.
Yeah.
But it's kind of
built
interesting.
for like the battles.
Yeah, like different style of battle, right?
Yeah. Different arts, different martial arts.
And then even like, so then it's like, okay, what would you say like a Mongol versus a Spartan,
I don't know. I'm leaning towards the Spartans. I don't
Still
know why.
leaning towards the Spartans?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I don't know.
Okay.
You'd go the Mongol, yeah?
Well, you got. I think we've got to put some limitations, right? You got to take away the bow and arrow.
Mm-hmm. My first thought was on the horse with the bow and arrow.
Yeah. So take away the bow and arrow. Take away the horse.
Hand-to-hand combat. I would go. Well, not hand. Close combat. I would go the Spartan.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
I think in that particular scenario, I'd probably go the Spartan as well. Yeah. Anyway, it could be a future influence for you, and and some themes as we
now
continue.
I'm thinking about the samurai versus Spartan. I'm like, oh, he does have the shield though.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck. I don't know. I'm torn between that one, eh?
When it comes to you and learning, learning, I'm talking specifically about martial arts here, right? How do you normally treat it? Obviously you do the classes, and we do the coaching and things like that with you one-on-one with Renato and Ray and all that sort of stuff. But do you take any outside influences? Are you watching video? Are you watching tape? How do you sort of approach that aspect of it?
Every day I watch tape. I watch video. I take from anyone and everyone. You know how Bruce Lee said?
Yep.
Take so much in. And if anything I'm not interested in, I just discard.
Yep.
But I take a lot in. I'm very open-minded. I'm not, I won't try that. I'm not a fan of that. Like, I'm pretty open when it comes to all techniques and all kind of different looks and different feels. Even if myself, I'm sold on something, I'll still be like, oh, what do you think of this? Because I just want to know what other body types think or what other minds think of a certain technique or a movement. I'm super open-minded when it comes to that stuff.
And is there so when you watch other fighters, is there any fighters that you resonate with, like
Corey Sandhagen?
Yeah,
I love his style, man.
Yeah,
he's my favorite fighter.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is it about Corey? The length, just the way he throws, the way he switches stances, the combinations.
Yeah, the creativity, and just he's just fighting. There's no real stance. Like, everyone's always like, oh, like, can you fight orthodox as well? Or, oh, what stance are you? I don't have a stance. Like, it's just fighting. I believe.
You feel, right?
Yeah. I believe very soon, if not kind of already now, there won't be a stance. It's not going to be like, everyone in orthodox, this is the combination. Like, those days are long, long gone. I feel like you have to be able to fight in any stance. Not just any stance, but any style too. You should be able to change the stance, the style in that stance,
Yeah.
Like, the days of just one stance, I think, are long gone.
Yeah.
I just like Corey's creativity, the way he mixes it. I think he mixes it very well. And for some reason, I don't know, but he said it himself, he wasn't mixing the MMA in as well. He just loves to strike. Now that he's mixing the MMA in, I think he's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Creates new problems, right? Like,
yes.
Now you got to worry about the takedown, so forces people to dip, and then that
Yeah.
dip opens up the flying knee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I think, I typically don't really focus on whether people are orthodox or southpaw anymore. I instead talk about, whether they're in open stances or closed stances, right?
Yeah.
So, that's the easiest way to depict it. So it's whether it's south and south, that's closed stances.
Mm-hmm.
If it's ortho versus south, then it's open stances, and it doesn't matter which way it is.
Yeah.
If you're both ortho, it's closed stances.
Yeah. For me, I've always noticed the legs. I don't know if that was just the way I am, but I've never really gone like, oh shit, he's in Orthodox now, or oh, he's in Southpaw. It's always kind of come natural, I guess. But I just thought that was normal. I didn't realize that it was a thing that had to come to.
Yeah.
I've never struggled with what stance I'm in or what stance the other person is in.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah. I think shout out to my friend Sonny Brown. He did this podcast with Primal Mike, and they were talking about like how the ecological approach to learning, right? And they're talking about it with striking, in the sense of like, you know, allowing people to just find where their base is. So as an example, rather than saying, you know, okay, step like this, move like that, it's like, okay, like practice throwing your jab, and where are your feet, and practice moving and then throwing your jab, and then, you know, where are your feet.
Yeah.
So don't worry so much about, you know, what your stance looks like in that particular situation, but worry about, you know, are you able to still continually throw after that, or can you defend after that? Like that is, you know, do you actually have a structure around that? And for each individual, it's probably going to change a little bit.
Of course.
The only thing that I think about that sort of stuff, and this is probably like the traditional side of me thinking in terms of traditional martial arts, right, is sometimes you need to have structure to make it easy to learn.
Yeah.
Right? So having that structure can actually allow people to progress really, really quickly.
Yeah.
And then the hard part then is like trying to make sure that people don't get indoctrinated in that structure. Because at some point you got to take you can bend the rules, right?
Yes.
Like we all like, you know, people always talk about not crossing the feet. Well, what if you want to spin?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Cross the feet.
Yeah.
So so that's why it's like, you know, there is no I always say there's no silver bullet. There's no like one rule that is going to help you to win every single situation. It's
of course
completely
not. Of course
dependent
not.
on situation.
Yeah. It's going to be different from person to person, situation to situation. I think you definitely have to be open. Like, I just keep coming back to that word. I think that's an important part of MMA. It's just being open and not being closed to certain techniques. You just said, though, you would have to be... What were you saying when you said, like... Because I just started thinking, like, if you're teaching people, like, in a big group, of course, you're probably going to have to be a bit more, okay, this is the set way, this is how you do it, you know? But, like, I think for fighters, it's going to be so different. Like, the board is... it's going to be so different from person to person. Yeah.
That's why, you know, the only way to... I think imitation is always a great way to sort of build that skill set. Yeah. Right? So if there's a fighter that you enjoy watching and you imitate their style, like it you may not understand all the nuances of it, but it's going to give you some insight into their movement patterns. Yes. And that's something I think is really, really important. And then, you know, after you sort of work, and I think, you know, that would come after the fundamentals. Like, obviously, establish good fundamentals if you can. Yeah. Right? Like, I'm not saying go and discard, you know, and don't learn how to throw a proper jab, or don't understand how to throw certain specific movements, right? There's isolated techniques, but then, you know, as you progress and, you know, you've got that foundation, now it's like, okay, using that, you know, the techniques that I understand and like the develop good fundamentals, now I can go and apply that into like trying different stuff. Yes. And seeing how other people do things. Right, and then it's like, okay, and then through that you sort of filter from that into what becomes your own style, right? And I think that's what's happened with you, right? Is like, you know, people say, oh, you know, you can see that karate background in Coops, but you don't have the karate background. What it is, it's like you've seen fighters that fight with a longer stance, and you've liked that sort of style, and you've emulated some of their movements, and then it's like, okay, they've just become part of your game. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, I guess. You know, we should probably wrap up because we're going to have to get some rounds in, work in shortly. So if people want to find you, how do they find you? Rush the Fighter on Instagram and Facebook as well, Rush the Fighter. That's all I'm really using at the moment. Yeah. So, my Instagram, definitely, Rush the Fighter. I'm active on there all the time. Send me a follow. All right, and tune in. So fighting on the 26th. 26. Yep, so I'm fighting April 26th, Lumpini Stadium again, 1FC. Fighting Kaito Uda, Japanese fighter. Let's go. I'm ready. Beautiful. Thanks, everyone.